Flexible payment plans over the course of construction is one of the reasons why people prefer to invest in off-plan properties. Depending on the demand and the economic situation, developers offer various different types of payment plans. Let's discuss some of the most common ones. 50-50, that's the typical payment plan. It means 50% of the cost of the unit needs to be paid during the course of construction, while the last 50% is payable at the handover when the project is complete. So typically, developers would want you to pay 20% at reservation, 30% during the course of construction, typically in 3 monthly or 6 monthly or 9 monthly installments, and the remaining 50% on completion. Some of the most common variations of this payment plan is 80-20, where 80% needs to be paid during the course of construction and 20% on handover, or 30-70, where only 30% is required during the course of construction and 70% on handover. Construction-linked payment plans. Unlike time-linked, construction-linked payment plan means that your next installment is due when a project is completed by a certain stage. So for example, on a typical 50-50 payment plan, 20% is required at reservation, 30% during the course of construction. That is now linked to the project being completed at a certain stage. For example, when the project is 30% complete, the next 10% payment is due. When the project is 40% complete, another 10% payment is due. And when the project is 50% complete, another 10% payment is due. So that's 30% during the course of construction. And the last 50% will be paid at the completion. The biggest advantage of construction-linked payment plans are that if the project is delayed for any reason, then your installment is not due. Post-handover payment plans. These payment plans offer you the highest amount of flexibility. So for example, on a typical 50-50 payment plan that is post-handover, 50% needs to be paid during the course of construction and 50% needs to be paid post-handover after you get the keys. So for example, 20% at reservation, 30% during the course of construction, and for example, if your payment plan is 50% in the next 5 years post-handover, then the last 50% needs to be paid over the next 5 years after you got the unit. So you got the keys, you put the tenant in, you're getting the rental income whilst you're still paying the developer. So post-handover payment plans are highly flexible and highly favored by the investors. Just a word of caution on post-handover payment plans, especially for overseas investors. Most often developers would require a post-dated check, so it must be clear before you actually buy into any development the process of an international investor, because international investors do not have a checkbook. They can't have a checkbook here in UAE. So how the payment process will work in your case, that needs to be discussed before you actually purchase the property.